Hey guys, this is Mrs. Petey. We're going to go through and do some distributing to simplify expressions. These are just some basic distributing problems. We will eventually work up to harder ones. When we distribute, we're multiplying the number that is right next to the parentheses by each of the terms that are inside of the parentheses. So, we are going to start with, first of all, identifying what is right next to the parentheses, because at some point we will have more things outside of that area, or that are not directly next to the parentheses. So this 2 is what is right next to my set of parentheses. These are my parentheses here. I'm going to go draw over them so you can see some people seem confused with what parentheses are. Again, when we're distributing, because we have a number right next to a set of parentheses, which always means to us that we're going to multiply, we're going to be multiplying this 2, which is a positive 2 because there's nothing in front of it, by each one of the terms that are inside of our parentheses. So inside of our parentheses, we have our first term, which is 8x, a positive 8x. So the first thing we're going to do is 2 times 8x. 2 times 8x will give us 16x. The second thing that we're going to do, or distribute the second time, we're going to do the 2 times the second term inside of the parentheses, which is a positive 9. When we do 2 times a positive 9, we get 18. When we look at these two pieces that we ended up with, or terms that we ended up with, this 16x and this 18 are not like terms, so we cannot combine them. So we just have to write them down just like they are. So 16x plus 18. Okay, that's the first one. So you can see we simplified from having 3 different numbers in here to now having 2 different numbers. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Again, we're going to simplify the expression by distributing. Okay. The first thing we have to know is what is the number that we are distributing? What are we multiplying the stuff in the parentheses by in order to do the distributing? So here's my parentheses. What is right next to that set of parentheses? We have a 10. Again, what operation are we going to do when we are distributing? We're going to do some multiplication. We have 2 terms inside of our parentheses. So first, we're going to multiply, and again, it's always multiplying when we're distributing. We're going to do 10 times 6y. When we do 10 times the 6y, they're both positive. This is going to give us 60y. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply that 10 by our next term inside of our parentheses. The next term is -7. So we're doing 10, and again we're multiplying when we're distributing, times -7. 10 times -7 gives me a -70, so I'm going to write this down as minus 70. Now I can check, do I have any like terms down here? So is there anything in here that's a like term? No. This term has a y, this term does not, so we're going to leave it just like that. That is as far as we can go with it. Okay, let's go to another one. Okay, so now we have to decide what we're distributing this time. We have those parentheses, we have more than one term inside of our parentheses. So now we're deciding what we're distributing. We're going to distribute this -4 because it's right next in front of the set of parentheses. It can either be in the front or after it, but it has to be right up next to it. So we're going to distribute this -4. The first thing we're going to distribute it to is our first term inside of our parentheses, which is a -12b. Again, when we distribute, the operation we're doing is multiplication. So we're thinking -4 times -12b. -4 times -12b gives me a positive 48, and we have to make sure we put that b in there. Okay, the next thing we're going to distribute the negative 4 to is this term here, which is again, looking in front of what sign is in front of it, a positive 8. So now we're going to type it, and again, keep in mind distributing is always multiplication. So we are doing negative 4 times positive 8. Negative 4 times positive 8, if you type that in your calculator, gives you a negative 32. So when I write that down, I'm going to write down minus 32. I can ask myself then, after I do my distributing, do I have any like terms? Is this 48b a like term to this minus 32? No. This one has a b in it, this one does not. So that is as far as I can go for these problems. Okay, we have one more we're going to do. Okay. Again, we're going to simplify the expression by distributing. Here's my parentheses. Those parentheses are going to jump out at you and you're going to think to yourself, I have to check to see if I can distribute. As long as there's more than one term inside of your parentheses, you are distributing. If there's only one term, you're just doing straight out multiplication. But because there is more than one term in here, remember terms are separated by the pluses and minuses, we know we have to distribute. I'm going to distribute by the number that's right next to my parentheses on the outside. I have a negative 6 that's right next to my parentheses, so that is what's being distributed or passed out, multiplied by each one of those terms. The first thing I'm going to distribute that negative 6 to is this positive 9x. And it's positive because there is nothing in front of it. So again, distributing is multiplication. If you need to, put that little x up there. When we do negative 6 times a positive 9x, we get a negative 54, and we have to remember that x. We can't lose our x. Okay, so that's the first part of our distributing. We have a second term in our parentheses, so we have to distribute again. So now we're going to take this negative 6, and what are we distributing it to this time? Over to this, and this is a negative 3 because in front of it you see a minus. And again, when we distribute, remember that is multiplication. So we are doing negative 6 times negative 3. If you type that in your calculator, you should get a positive 18. So when I go to write that down, I'm going to put down a plus 18 because it's positive 18. Okay, then I'm going to ask myself, can I combine, do I have any like terms? So after we distribute, our next step to simplifying an expression is to check for combining like terms. I don't have any like terms. This first term has an x in it. The second term is just a plain number. So this is as far as I can simplify my expression. So that's my final answer. When I simplify an expression, keep in mind that that is an equivalent expression I'm coming up with. It's just a shortened way to write it. It has a little less going on in it. It's easier to work with. Okay, that's why we do that. And eventually we will use it to solve equations. Okay, good job, guys.